Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is part 2 of our story. If you like this what if story and want to see part 2, let me know in the comments below. Before we start, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. Also, check the description for more great content and my playlist. This story was posted by Darkest Decade 97 on Wattpad. Now let's start. Highlights. The chest plate, outlined with orange trim, adds contrast to its angular plating. Its head design is sharp and helmet-like, with pointed ear-like fins and glowing red visor eyes. Both shoulders are broad and armored, slanted into blade-like shapes, while the arms end in bulky forearms with circular red energy nodes embedded in them. On the right shoulder, a rotating cannon is mounted. The legs are thick and mechanical, painted in lighter silver gray with jagged plating, and a sharp, red V-shaped panel sits at the waist. Izuku, tell me about it. It took a while for 𝐻𝐻𝐻 and her group to be accepted by our people. But after they heard her story, they sort of warmed up to her. You know, it took a while for us to track down all of 𝐻𝐻𝐻's classmates. So many of them had no place to go just because they were expelled from you. And for a silly reason. Jack, families in Japan, or Asian families in general, are not one for failure. They have a reputation to uphold. Hence why so many have to work hard for something they don't want or waste their lives pleasing their families, and when you fail, you're seen as a disgrace. Izuku, which is what happened with 𝐻𝐻𝐻 and the others. Jack, yes. And in the end, because of your actions, because you let go of your hate for those with quirks just this once, you decided to let those who are victims of this corrupt society join you in fighting against it, challenging the foundation they have built. That takes guts, and I know you have it, he says with a smirk, but another thought comes to Jack's mind. Jack, although, because you helped these troubled students, Fuwa became extremely loyal to you and is willing to follow you to the very end. Don't tell me there's something going on between you two. Izuku rolls his eyes in annoyance. He has no time for romance. His main focus is to plot for the future of the Quirkless. However, he ignores the faint blush on his cheeks and continues the conversation. Izuku, it may be the last we get when it comes to those with quirks, Dad. But if you didn't know, it took a while for 𝐻𝐻𝐻's classmates to join our group. 𝐻𝐻𝐻 had to rally them together and convince them that a group of powerless individuals was willing to let them join their ranks when the society they are trying to make a name for rejected them so easily. Kind of ironic if you ask me. Not to mention it took a while for us to track down all of Aizawa's expelled students, and there are a lot. Shota Aizawa. The man who is willing to expel his students on the first day without a second thought, and worst of all, the principal of 𝐻𝐻𝐻 allowed it to happen. Izuku had Melissa, now joined by 𝐻𝐻𝐻, do extensive research on Aizawa's profile to find any form of leverage against him. It isn't heroic, so to speak, but the Quirkless need to have every tool available if they are to overcome obstacles when they become heroes. Izuku, the problem is, some are gone, some are in jail because they became villains, and some just outright disappeared. Those we found were willing to join us to get back at Aizawa to show they mean business. That man made so many mistakes, the consequences of his actions will finally come back to haunt him. Jack, indeed. Makes you wonder if he deludes himself into thinking he's in the right for what he did, when in actuality, he was wrong from the start. Izuku, he probably does. That's why I want to see it for myself when I get to you. His father nods but is still hesitant about where his son wants to go. Jack, are you sure you really want to do this, son? You isn't the only place to show that the Quirkless can be heroes. S7 and its connections can help you and your friends accomplish your goal. Izuku, no need, Dad. My decision still stands, and everyone agrees with me. We want to do this because we want to show this society that we won't back down to their injustices. We are going to fight back whether they like it or not. They hit back, we hit back, but much harder. We're done dealing with their unfairness, and it's time they learned, Father. We won't go down without a fight. And if I get branded a villain because of it, so be it. We were always fending off against ourselves, and that statement will forever hold true unless we change it at its very core. And you? Is our start. His father sighs. Izuku can be stubborn, just like his mother. What matters more to Jack is to support his son through all this, and he will definitely need the help he can get. Jack, very well, we're here to help deal with the fallout and handle the HPSC when it comes down to it. You have my word. Izuku nods and focuses his attention back at the facility. He closes his eyes, hoping that his plans will work, or else all of this will be for nothing. Months in Izuku, so this is it, the start of our journey. In Island, Izuku and his group are on a landing pad where a cargo plane, along with a private jet, will take them back to Japan for the entrance exams. Those taking the exam alongside Izuku and Melissa are Goro, Sora, and some new ones handpicked by Melissa, the Hansha triplets, Kotaro, Bowen, and Fane Hansha. Since they're triplets, they have uneven gray hair that falls across their faces, with one long strand always slipping over their left eye, and pale, washed-out eyes. Then we have Jetto, Ranji, and Aika. For the more group-oriented crews, we have Emo, Shigoto, Ranto, Hatsuru Roke, a young boy with long black hair tied into a high ponytail and violet eyes, and Uzumaki Kaze, a boy with wild black hair and sharp orange eyes. The last crew joining them is led by Sakura Appa, a girl with short curly brown hair and bright hazel eyes. Banku, Benja Sukabe, a boy with stringy dark hair and pale blue eyes. Mikusamento, a girl with long bright silver hair and glowing yellow eyes. Koji Fuku, a boy with glossy dark green hair and pale green eyes. And Nagisa Chalk, a boy with medium-length black hair and dull amber eyes. Melissa, indeed, with our connections, we were able to get a spot for the exams at U. Although, my contacts told me they had to change a few details regarding our information. I won't be surprised if any of the staff tries to stop us from taking the exams since it's too dangerous for people like us. Izuku, yet there are quirks that aren't suitable for combat and are still allowed to take the test. They may be seen as quirkless from a different perspective, but they are allowed since they have a quirk to begin with. Melissa, yup. I'll head on over to the staff and finish up. Don't want anything left behind. Izuku, you go do that. Once Melissa went on her way, Izuku was left alone in his thoughts, watching the crew load up the Cybertronian mechs onto the cargo plane while the rest of his friends head inside the private jet. His thoughts were interrupted when a voice called out to him. Moada, Izuku. He turns around when his name was called and sees Moada approaching him. Izuku, Moada, what brings you here? Moada, just came here to see you guys off and to wish you good luck. There was a small silence as the two watched the crews doing their jobs on the landing pad until Moada asked Izuku a question in an uncertain tone. Moada, you know what's coming when you arrive. Are you certain you won't experience the same thing we did? Izuku, I'm still uncertain who our teacher will be once we pass you. Or if any of them will bar us entry to the school despite us passing. That's why we want all of us taking the exam to be in the top 10 or even 20 on their leaderboards. That way it shows we passed. Fair and square. But if it goes sideways, once word of this comes out, it will show that the Quirkless have the means to be great and will rally more people to our side. There are pros and cons to this, along with variables that can work with our future plans or delay them. We have to make do with what is given to us and work around it. Moada, ever the futurist. Moada smiled, feeling grateful to Izuku for taking her in. Initially, she had been hesitant, especially upon learning that most of the others were quirkless. The rising discrimination against them had caused her to feel distrustful. However, after sharing her story and realizing that many faced similar challenges, they slowly accepted her. Izuku had stood by her side when others were unsure, earning her trust and loyalty. She was determined to help him fight against the system that had caused her pain. Yet, a lingering feeling weighed on her heart, and Moada was unsure how to address it. This was all new to her, and likely to Izuku as well. Her classmates had always encouraged her to take a leap of faith, so she decided to try, unafraid of the consequences. Moada, she began, but the words wouldn't come. A mental barrier seemed to block her from expressing what she truly wanted to say. She struggled to break through it. She tried again, but silence filled the air, leaving Izuku concerned. Moada, I want to say good luck and hope you message back when it's done. We wish to see the results of your hard work and will cheer you on. Without waiting for Izuku's response, Moada hurried away. Izuku watched her leave, puzzled by their interaction. I wonder what that was about, he mused, then turned his focus back to the landing pad. Once they arrived at 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐦𝐸, they needed to strategize for the entrance exam. Chapter 4. The test at 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐸, Japan's top-ranked high school for heroics. Students from various schools gathered for the entrance exams. In the midst of it all were Izuku and his friends, all Quirkless. Melissa looked at the school with a smile, excited to start her journey and prove that she could be a Quirkless hero. Izuku felt a sense of accomplishment but was aware of the obstacles ahead. However, looking at his friends reassured him that they would face the challenges together. After a rigorous journey, we have finally arrived at our destination, Melissa said. Indeed, it's only a matter of time before the real test begins. But I have faith we're all ready for it, Izuku replied. Speak for yourself, boss. I'm getting annoyed by all these Quirkists watching us, Sora remarked, pointing out the students staring at them. Some looked angry or annoyed at the sight of Quirkless students daring to take the exams, while others whispered among themselves. Izuku chose to ignore them. Their opinions wouldn't deter him. Take it easy, Sora. Don't cause a scene. We wouldn't want any problems before the test, Mo advised. But what if they try something? Corner us because we're Quirkless? Sakura asked. Let them try, but gather evidence. I have connections here, and I'm sure you wouldn't want to cause issues right before the exam starts. Outside, they may turn a blind eye to the Quirkists, but here, the right words can make them side with us. We just have to be precise in how we say it, Melissa explained. And are you certain of that? Sakura questioned. I am, Melissa affirmed. As the group made their way inside the building, they were interrupted by a familiar voice calling out to Izuku. Deku! Izuku sighed as he turned around to see Bakugo. A tense silence fell between them. What puzzled Izuku was the look on Bakugo's face. It wasn't the usual anger. Before either could speak, Bakugo walked past him, heading toward the building, leaving Izuku and his friends to wonder what had just happened. Melissa shockwave, so that's him. Izuku, yup. That's him. Mo onslaught. That's so. He looks like one of those bullies who love to show off how powerful their quirks are. Izuku knows Mo's statement to be true, but he gestures for them to leave it be and not talk about it, as Bakugo won't be a problem for them. Hopefully. But there is a look of uncertainty on Izuku's face. What he saw moments ago was not the Bakugo he knew. Izuku doesn't know what changed, and quite frankly he doesn't care. He removed Bakugo from his life the minute he met people who would support him. He doesn't need Bakugo, and Bakugo needs to learn he doesn't need him. Although, Izuku often wonders, why does Bakugo always focus on me when he seems to dislike me? There are other people he could bother, but why him? Izuku shakes off the thought and joins his friends as they head inside 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐸𝐸. A high school auditorium. By this point, the written portion of the entrance exam is finished, and the crew knows they did well. Now all that's left is the practical portion of the entrance exam. All of the students have gathered in the auditorium. Unfortunately, Izuku had to sit next to Bakugo since they were arranged by their respective schools. So Izuku had to be near him, and quite frankly, Bakugo hasn't said a single word. As Izuku told himself, he doesn't care. He ignores Bakugo and waits patiently for the exam to start. It begins with President Mike walking up to the stage and starting his presentation regarding the practical exam with an enthusiastic greeting. President Mike, candidates. Welcome to my live show. Everybody say, 𝐒𝐮𝐸𝐸. His greeting was met with silence. Izuku didn't react to seeing a pro hero because, at this point, he is losing interest in them. It's evident when Bakugo glances at Izuku, noticing he has no reaction to present Mike, a pro hero he knows and has researched during his days as a hero fan. Izuku's lack of response makes Bakugo frown, one he tries to hide from Izuku. Bakugo, what is happening to you, Deku? What changed? President Mike, okay, candidates. I'll briefly explain the practical test. Are you ready? Yeah. Again, his loud greeting was met with silence. Mike tried his best not to get upset about the reaction, though his eyebrow twitched and his body shook as he continued with the presentation. President Mike, as indicated in the exam pamphlet, candidates will participate in a 10-minute mock battle. You can bring any item. After my speech, you should go to your respective arena. As he says that, Izuku looks at his exam pamphlet and sees he's in Battle Center B. Beside him, Bakugo says nothing and realizes he and Izuku aren't in the same area. However, Bakugo notices Izuku looking at his phone, but with some tech he got from 𝐒𝐿𝐴, they made the screens not visible from afar. You can only see the screen up close or through a visor, which Izuku is wearing. It's transparent due to Izuku having a small earpiece device in both ears, ensuring people won't spy on what they're doing. Izuku is receiving text messages from his crew, stating their battle center is B, meaning everyone in his crew is in the same area as him. Looks like luck is on their side. Present Mike. The arena has 3 types of villain bots. You gain points according to their difficulty. Use your quirk to defeat villain bots and accumulate points. This is your goal. Of course, anti-hero behavior like attacking others is forbidden. He explains all this as the screen shows silhouettes of the villain bots, each showcasing how many points can be earned from defeating them. However, his presentation is interrupted when someone shouts from the audience. I have a question. Present Mike. Okay. 2 points to the candidate who shouted, and a spotlight shines on him. Izuku glances and sees the student is a blue-haired boy with glasses. Izuku ignores the boy's question and starts thinking of a plan for when they reach their testing area. Izuku, it seems the destruction of the villain bots can work well for us. The blaster cannons we have can destroy these bots in one blast. Not only that, Moada gave me details about the exam and what to watch out for. Rescue points. Present Mike didn't mention rescue points because it's part of being a hero to help others in need. Most students here will focus on the bots, but some will earn rescue points by assisting others. I will relay this to the crew once we get to the battle center. He finished collecting his thoughts and heard Present Mike answering the blue-haired boy's question. Present Mike, I will give the explanation regarding the 4th villain bot. It will only give you 0 points. It's there to distract you. Each arena will have one. It will pop out anywhere. You can defeat it, but it brings no benefit. I suggest you try to avoid it. Izuku thought, or it can be used when it comes to rescue points. Save those that cannot be saved and help others when they are in desperate need for help. Present Mike, that's all for now. Lastly, our school motto. The great Napoleon Bonaparte once said, "True heroism consists of rising superior to misfortune, striving to go further beyond. Plus ultra." Izuku thought, yeah, we'll certainly go plus ultra alright. A high school, ground beta in ground beta, which serves as the area for the entrance exam. Izuku and his crew gathered in the middle, now donning their Cybertronian mechs. To be quite honest, they were the talk of the town among the students. Not only were they discussing the Cybertronian mechs, but some were also quite intimidated by their sheer height, with the majority being 15 to 17 feet tall, towering over everyone there. But it was the fact they recognized the leader, and it was obviously Izuku. They all knew Izuku through social media because of his speech back during the sludge villain incident. Some hated it, and some scoffed at the fact that a quirkless person was trying to be a hero. Now, they saw the kid with an army of quirkless individuals on his side, all wearing the same armor they had seen online. Many laughed it off, believing they were nothing but small fry, simply because they had no powers and their quirks far exceeded whatever it was the Cybertronian mechs had. Ranto Brawl, they're underestimating us, he said, looking over at the students staring at them. Izuku, ignore them. They won't matter. Melissa Shockwave, you messaged us earlier that you have a plan. What is it? She saw Izuku looking around, making sure no one was eavesdropping before telling his crew what he learned. Izuku, all right, listen up. Given the presentation just now, our main focus is to get as many points as we can, and with our vehicle forms, we can do just that. Uzumaki Vortex, sounds simple enough. Izuku, but another point I wish to mention, which was not covered in the presentation, is rescue points. They didn't tell you in the presentation because it should come second nature for all of us. Melissa Shockwave, yes. It is a hero's job to help and save others. The majority of the students here will focus solely on gaining points and not helping others. You are right, we should also take advantage of this and help out others while we can. But our main priority is to get as many points as possible. Mo Onslaught, and I know the perfect opportunity to get rescue points. Izuku, You've read my mind, Onslaught. The crew's attention was now brought to the platform above the entrance as Present Mike made his appearance, indicating the practical portion of the exams was about to start. Present Mike, okay. The gates are now opening. All of the candidates stood there as the gates opened up to the mock city. Izuku and his crew got into a stance. The minute they had an opening, they wouldn't hesitate to transform into their vehicle forms. As soon as the opportunity presented itself, the sounds of their Cybertronian mechs transforming were heard, causing a few of the students to look at them. What followed was a small shockwave flew out, pushing a few of the students who were near the Cybertronian mechs back as Izuku, now in his jet mode, led the so-called Seekers inside, who were also in their jet modes, resembling McDonnell Douglas F-15 Eagles, with Melissa, Hatsuru, and Uzumaki not far behind in their own aerial modes. The rest of the crew soon followed in their ground-based vehicles, making their way through the entrance, especially since the majority of their vehicles were both military and construction, forcing many of the students to jump out of the way to avoid getting run over. The minute the crew headed inside, the students shouted at them in anger. Student 1, hey, what the heck? They're cheating. He didn't even say, go. Student 2, yeah, those quirkless individuals are cheating. Student 3, get them out of here. This isn't fair for us. Present Mike, what do you mean, this isn't fair? They got the right idea. There are no countdowns in battles. Now get a move on. I mean look, they're already racking up all the points. As Present Mike pointed over to the mock city, explosions erupted, signaling that the quirkless students were racking up points and not letting anyone else score. Better get to it before you lose all your points. Present Mike shouted. At his cue, a moment of silence was followed by chaos. The students sprinted into the mock city, many pushing each other aside for a chance to earn points in the exam. Inside the mock city, the roads were littered with parts of the villain bots, showing signs of battle with scorch marks and large holes. A jet flew past the debris and transformed, hovering in midair. This was Goro in his Cybertronian mech, known as Thundercrack. His mech had a sharp, angular frame with a blue and gray color scheme accented by red highlights. The cockpit was a distinct amber gold, and his wings featured red striping along the edges. Goro checked his HUD and spotted a couple of villain bots in the alleyways. Targeting them, he fired the blaster cannons on his arms, hitting the villain bots in one shot as they exploded into pieces. Alright, time to test this bad boy out, Sora, also known as Skywarp, said as he prepared his own mech. Closing his eyes inside the cockpit, Sora's body was engulfed in light purple energy, utilizing a teleportation ability he had learned with the help of Izuku and Melissa. He reappeared above the villain bots, who turned to face him. Sora's mech, with its black and deep purple armor contrasted by gray highlights, hovered in the air. He fired shots from his blaster cannon, leaving only smoke and spare parts behind. Let's hope I don't get stuck in a wall, Sora joked as he noticed a group of villain bots charging at him. With a smirk, he used his teleportation ability to appear on top of them, aiming his blaster cannon. He fired a shot that caused a large explosion, annihilating all the villain bots. Sora transformed and flew away to join Goro. Meanwhile, in a dark room at the only light came from numerous TV screens showing live footage of the practical exam. The staff watched intently, with Principal Nizu particularly focused on one screen. What do we have here? Nizu said, pressing a button on the console to zoom in on a video. It showed Izuku firing shots with his fusion cannon, destroying a group of villain bots before engaging in close combat. Izuku was soon joined by Melissa, who unleashed a barrage of cannon fire at the villain bots, filling the area with explosions as they made their escape. It seems the one they know as Izuku Midoriya has made his arrival at you, and is now taking the entrance exam, Nizu remarked. Not to mention he is joined by his own group of quirkless students wearing the same suit. Noticing All Might beside him, Nizu pressed another button to showcase a screen listing the names of the quirkless students, separating them from the rest of the group. This turn of events was particularly interesting to him, especially as he highlighted Izuku and Melissa. All Might recognized Izuku from their previous encounter during the sludge villain incident and was not surprised to see him taking the test. However, he was taken aback by Melissa's presence. All Might thought to himself about Melissa and the boy she knew. He wasn't sure if David had mentioned this to him, but he planned to message David or meet Melissa after the test. While All Might was deep in thought, the rest of the staff shared their opinions. Ectoplasm remarked, "I knew about the boy through social media and the news. It's not surprising that he's taking the test, but I'm curious about the people he brought with him. How did he manage to gather so many quirkless individuals for this?" Midnight added, "It could be due to his speech. It attracted a lot of attention online. I wouldn't be surprised if he found his team there." Vlad King expressed his concerns, saying, "I'm not like those quirkists who discriminate against the quirkless, but I'm worried about the technology and weaponry they're using. It seems too advanced for something made in a garage or even by a support company." Power Loader agreed, "You're right, Vlad. I've been observing this group since the test began. Their technology is far beyond what any support company has developed. The fact that they can transform into vehicles is impressive, and I wish they had applied for the support course. We could have done so much with their tech. But as that boy said, they want to be the first quirkless heroes in society." Nizu remained silent, already aware of the origin of such technology, likely from Island, where the greatest scientists work. All Might, however, reflected on his conversation with Izuku on the rooftop and watched the screen as Izuku and his team faced off against more villain bots. All Might realized that Izuku and his friends were proving him wrong, showing that even without a quirk, they could still be heroes. He sighed, hoping that once Izuku passed the test, he could have a proper conversation with him and apologize for his earlier doubts. Back in the Mock City, Izuku was engaged in battle with a villain bot when he noticed the Hansha triplets approaching him. These three shared a similar body type, with a few key differences, and each had their own name. Their appearance featured dark purple and gray armor with green chest panels, and they had blocky limbs, angular heads, and glowing red optics. While Bowen and Fane were identical, Kotaro, now called Viewfinder, had a circular piece in the middle of his chest. Kotaro Viewfinder said, "Boss, the students have arrived in the Mock City. Most are struggling to take out the villain bots since we've taken most of them down." He pointed behind Izuku, who turned to see the students running around the Mock City, looking for any leftover villain bots. They could hear the students shouting at Izuku and his crew, but they ignored the comments. Bowen Spyglass chuckled, "You should have seen their faces. They were upset that we took most of their points. I call it a skill issue." Fane Spectro added, "And I got it all on camera." Izuku replied, "That's great, but relay this message to the others. Destroy any villain bots you can find and help the students. Choose those who you think will accept your help. Many Quirkists won't want our assistance, but saving them from the bots might count as rescue points." Kotaro Viewfinder nodded, "You got it, boss." The three of them exchanged nods. Unlike others, they could transform into a single vehicle, resembling a futuristic camera or artillery-like device, appearing as a compact armored vehicle. Their tank-like configuration featured thick treads, a large central lens-like cannon, and angular armor plating, all in their purple and green color scheme. When combined, they liked to refer to themselves as Reflector. Inside the cockpit, Kotaro was in the middle, with Bowen and Fane at the front on the left and right. As Kotaro accelerated, the tank moved forward and fired a shot of plasma energy toward a small group of villain bots. The three are present in the cockpit with Kotaro in the middle, then Bowen and Fane up by the front on the left and right. Kotaro accelerates, and the tank pushes ahead, firing a shot of plasma energy towards a small group of villain bots, taking them out. A few students shout insults at the triplets for stealing their points. Izuku observes, "Given how long it's been, I even had Mel time it. The exam has reached its halfway mark. Given the amount of students panicking to find what's left of our onslaught, we should have enough points to warrant us a pass. And since we're nearing its end, that only means, suddenly, the entire Mock City experiences a heavy earthquake that makes everyone stop in their tracks. Those in the air transform and hover midair using their boosters, trying to figure out what's going on. Their answer comes when explosions of dust engulf the city, followed by more explosions as all the candidates stare at something enormous heading their way, the zero-pointer. Izuku looks to his right to see 𝐒𝐻𝐻 coming in his vehicle form, a mobile anti-aircraft truck, and transforms beside Izuku. 𝐒𝐻𝐻's Cybertronian mech, which he now calls himself Onslaught, stands taller than most of his teammates, with a commanding presence reinforced by his dark blue armor and large dual cannons that extend from his back. His blocky chest and angular head give him a methodical and disciplined appearance. 𝐒𝐻𝐻 Onslaught, what's the plan? Izuku replies, with the zero-pointer now revealing itself, the students will run out of here. Destroying it will be pointless because it gives you 0 points. However, we can use this to gain rescue points. We need teams to distract the zero-pointer while the rest evacuate any students that are still in its vicinity. 𝐒𝐻𝐻 nods and relays the plan to the rest of the crew. He looks up to the sky to see Melissa in her vehicle form soaring past them. Melissa transforms into a heavily armored Cybertronian artillery craft. Her vehicle mode is a deep metallic purple, covered in sharp angles and layered armor plating. The front is elongated and cannon-like, with her signature eye doubling as the central targeting lens. Mounted turrets, side cannons, and thruster wings reinforce her war machine aesthetic. Melissa Shockwave here. The Coneheads and I are going in. Blast off, Vortex, head over to the rooftops for support. The rest, get these people out of here and distract them if possible. She contacts the crew and is joined by the Coneheads as they fly side by side with Melissa. They see the zero-pointer in sight, causing chaos in the mock city as debris from the buildings falls to the road. Melissa ignores this and radios the Coneheads to have their targeting systems aim for the weak points of the zero-pointer, mainly in the joints where the arms and legs are connected. Melissa fires beams of energy while the Coneheads unleash a flurry of rockets, all hitting the zero-pointer, which erupts in a huge explosion. Melissa Shockwave, it's a shame most of our power is at its lowest setting. Can't have these heroes see just how powerful our tech really is. She flies around the zero-pointer, smoke and sparks flying out of its hull as Melissa witnesses the 3 Coneheads transforming into their robot mode. Like Goro and Sora, they share the same body type but have one distinct feature, the cone on their heads. First up is Ranji, known in this form as Move. Ranji's mech is maroon and gray, with large vertical turbine fans built into his wings. He has a cone head design, extra thrusters, and a blocky, powerful chest that gives him a heavier, armored look. Next is Jetto, or Ramjet, whose design is dominated by his distinctive cone-shaped head, with his nose cone forming the top of his helmet. His body is mostly white with deep black and maroon accents, and his wings are broad and angled. Lastly, there's 𝐒𝐻𝐻, who calls herself Dirge. She has a darker color palette of navy blue, gray, and gold, with downward-angled wings and a tall cone-head design that gives her a sharp and menacing outline. The Coneheads aim their blaster cannons at the right arm of the zero-pointer. The 3 charge up their cannons and fire a beam of purple energy that hits the main joint of the zero-pointer's right arm. A large explosion erupts, separating the right arm of the zero-pointer from its body as it collapses to the ground, nearly hitting the building where Hatsasuru is. Hatsasuru's Cybertronian mech, which he now names Blast Off, has a dark, muted color scheme of brown and purple. His design is lean yet angular, with squared forearms and thruster-like legs, showcasing his space shuttle alternate form and a purple visor. Hatsasuru Blast Off, hey WhatIf. You nearly crushed me, and who knows if there was someone down there. We would have been in trouble. He screams out to the Coneheads, pointing to the right arm of the zero-pointer, which is on a pile of rubble. Hatsasuru scans the area and thankfully, there isn't anyone there. Uzumaki Vortex, tell me about it. I'm up in the air and the arm nearly brought me down to the ground. Watch where you're firing, you guys. He calls out to the Coneheads much like Hatsasuru did, but unlike his friend, Uzumaki is in the air, in his vehicle mode, which is that of a Sikorsky US-60 Black Hawk. The helicopter makes its way to where Hatsasuru is and transforms, revealing Hatsasuru, now known as Vortex. His Cybertronian mech carries a gray and blue scheme, with rotor blades mounted on his back that immediately mark his alternate form as a helicopter. His design is sharp and efficient, with squared shoulders, a leaner frame, and red optics. 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐸𝐴, both of you. Shut it. He yells out to his teammates in the comms and looks to his right to see another group in their crew helping out with the situation involving the zero-pointer. First up, we have 𝐒𝐻𝐸𝐴 or Long Haul, who has a bulky frame with a wide chest and heavy limbs. His body is green and purple, and his alternate form as a dump truck is reflected in the massive wheels on his legs. Next is 𝐒𝐻𝐸𝐴 or Scavenger, who has a leaner build with long, angular arms and a curved chest. His design emphasizes his excavator alternate mode, with details on his arms resembling digging equipment. He has a sloped head and red optics. Then it's Sakura or Scrapper. Her form has a square chest and clean lines. Her green armor is accented with purple, and her alternate mode as a front-end loader is hinted at in her broad shoulders and reinforced legs. Next up is Koji or Hook, who stands taller and more angular than the others, with sharp lines. He has a purple chest with crane arm details and a red visor. Finally, we have Banku or Bone Crusher, who has a square, rugged build with broad shoulders and a wide chest. His green and purple plating is broken up by angular edges. His bulldozer alternate mode is reflected in the heavy tread-like designs on his limbs. The last is Miku or Mixmaster, who is shorter and stockier, with a rounded chest and strong arms. Her head features a sharp visor and mouthplate. Her cement mixer alternate mode is reflected in the barrel-like details on her back and shoulders. 𝐒𝐻𝐸𝐴, Scrapper, how goes the situation? Sakura Scrapper, first off, Onslaught. Both Hook and Scavenger are helping out clearing the rubble by loading it up to Long Haul. Can't have any of this debris crush or trap us if there was a collapse. She explains, pointing out to both 𝐻𝐸𝐴 and Koji carrying the debris from a few of the collapsed buildings and loading it up on 𝐒𝐻𝐸𝐴, who transformed into his vehicle form, which is that of a Hitachi DH321 dump truck. Once it's full, 𝐒𝐻𝐸𝐴 drives away and unloads it on the sidewalk. Sakura Scrapper. Then we have Bone Crusher drilling holes around the building and Mixmaster is fusing the rubble that Hook and Scavenger can find, that way it won't collapse. We see Banku in his vehicle mode, which is that of a Komatsu D155A or a bulldozer with a drill attached to it, bursting through the walls of the building, helping out a couple of students that were trapped there when the zero-pointer attacked. 𝐻𝐸𝐴 rushed over to the building to help keep it steady while Koji placed a couple of debris pieces, forming them into a pillar to allow Miku to shoot out liquid from her vehicle form, a Nissan diesel mixer truck. The liquid hits the pillars and the building where the cracks meet, heating it up until it glues both shut. Sakura Scrapper. As for your boys, Swindle is bringing the last of the students who were trapped by the zero-pointer. A military jeep drives past the two and stops in the middle of the road. Inside the jeep are students who were rescued from the rubble, especially a brown-haired girl. They hop off the vehicle, and once it is clear of students, 𝐒𝐻𝐸𝐴 transforms. His Cybertronian mech, known as Swindle, is instantly recognizable with its bright yellow and purple body. His chest resembles a Jeep front grille, while his limbs are slim but sturdy, giving him a more agile appearance. 𝐒𝐻𝐸𝐴 watches the students leave and is approached by both MO and Sakura. 𝐒𝐻𝐸𝐴, we clear. 𝐒𝐻𝐸𝐴 Swindle, clear. 𝐒𝐻𝐸𝐴, alright. Brawl, you and Reflector unleash lead on this hunk of junk. Rando Brawl, yeah. I like blasting stuff. He exclaims as Ranto's Cybertronian mech, now calling himself Brawl, is heavily built and squared off, with olive green and gray armor plating. His chest is blocky and reinforced, while his legs resemble tank treads, reflecting his alternate mode as a tank. The man cracks his metal knuckles, making a clanking sound, and proceeds to transform into a green Leopard 1 main battle tank. The tank moves forward as it is joined by the triplets, or in short, Reflector. The two move into position with the zero-pointer right in front of them, damage still present all around its hull, thanks to Melissa and Shockwave, as the two tanks unleash their firepower. A large explosion hits the zero-pointer right in the chest, causing it to stumble and hit a building, causing debris to fall to the ground. But to their dismay, despite hitting it in the chest, the zero-pointer still stands. Ranko Brawl, what the? It's still standing. 𝐒𝐻𝐸𝐴, of course, it's still standing. It's part of the plan. Why do you think Shockwave told us to use it in our lowest setting? Did you forget? He looks to Ranto, who says nothing. 𝐒𝐿 shakes his head and contacts Izuku. 𝐒𝐿 Onslaught, boss, you have your opening. Take it and finish this fight. As 𝐒𝐿 says that, a large shadow looms over the crew. They all look up to see Izuku soaring through the skies in his new vehicle mode. In this form, Izuku transforms into a monstrous mechanized dragon, his entire body covered in jagged black and silver armor plates, with razor-edged ridges and spines. His wings are vast and torn, resembling a fusion of metal and bone, with blade-like edges that glint menacingly. His head is a terrifying fusion of steel and beastly design, crowned with twisted horns and lined with rows of serrated fangs that gleam like forged daggers. His eyes burn with a deep crimson glow, radiating determination. The entirety of the mock city is met with a menacing roar that is even heard outside. Izuku flies in front of the zero-pointer, which slowly stands up as the wings on Izuku's body flap continuously to keep him in place. Izuku is in the cockpit in a prone position, the HUD targeting the head of the zero-pointer as the weapon system is ready. Izuku, let's finish this. The mouth of the dragon starts charging with energy, forming into an orb as it builds up, and then a beam of purple energy shoots out from the mouth of the dragon, hitting the zero-pointer right in the head as it takes the brunt of the power. Due to the extent of Izuku's power in the mech, it can't withstand the damage any longer. Parts of the zero-pointer start exploding until the head follows, but much bigger. Everyone watches in awe as the zero-pointer slowly collapses to the ground in a flurry of explosions, its entire body covered in purple fire. Izuku lets out another roar, signifying his victory as he flies down to where his friends are, transforming back to robot mode. When he lands, Izuku falls to his knees due to using too much power and is helped by Melissa. Melissa Shockwave, you okay? Izuku, still standing. It will take a lot more to take me down. As Izuku's friends gather around, celebrating their victory, the students who witnessed this have some comments to share. Student 1, what a load of nonsense. Student 2, those guys really had an unfair advantage. Student 3, seriously, what did we just witness? Missiles, some kind of futuristic technology, transforming into vehicles, and even a dragon. Where did they even get all that? Student 4, I feel like they're looking down on us, thinking they passed while we failed. I really want to confront them and remind them of their place. Student 5, I hear you. I can't wait to show them what we can do. Amidst the comments, the blue-haired boy had a few thoughts to himself. Blue-haired boy, even if they didn't have quirks, they still showed they could stand with us. What we saw proved it. They defeated the robots easily and helped others too, something we all struggled with. Present mic, time's up. Everyone turns their attention to the loudspeaker as Present mic announces the end of the exam. Izuku watches as Recovery Girl arrives, healing the injured and handing out gummies. He looks to his friends and sees that none of them are hurt, but he feels a chill, wondering why he has imagined Recovery Girl healing him so many times. Goro, with the test done, what's next on our agenda? Izuku, right now we wait. Our main concern is to wait for the results. We need to make contingency plans in case we fail or pass. Some of the board members might not take this well, which is why I had Mel and Moada discreetly check UI's network for the results. If we fail, we need to show the public that even if we passed, our lack of quirks led to our failure. It will cause quite a stir. Sakura, and if we fail, I take it we're heading down the vigilante route. Izuku, not saying. Sakura, playing it secretive. Very well. We'll wait for your orders when the time comes. The rest nod in agreement as they leave the mock city. Meanwhile, Melissa approaches Izuku for a conversation. Melissa, you know, All Might was probably watching the whole exam. He recognized both of us since our information is in the database. Izuku, I know. I believe he wants to talk to us about our specific situations. I'm not planning on speaking with him. What about you? He looks at Melissa, who is looking down, unsure if she wants to talk to All Might after what she told Izuku before the entrance exam. Melissa, not right now. Maybe when we get our results. That will be the moment to prove him wrong, just like you did. Besides, he'll contact my father anyway. Let's hope he doesn't share too much with his old friend. Izuku nods as they make their way out, hoping that in a week's time, they will receive their results and see if they passed the exam. Time skip 𝐒𝐻𝐻? Well now, this is something I did not expect from this exam. He says as the 𝐒𝐻𝐻 staff gathers in the same room, looking at a big screen showcasing the results of the practical exam, and they have much to discuss. The board shows the top 20, or in this case, the top 21, and these are the names present on it. First, Izuku Midoriya villain, 82 rescue, 62nd, Rantotanku villain, 100 rescue, 39 3rd, Shigoto Sagi villain, 99 rescue, 36 4th, Sawawapa villain, 100 rescue, 35th, Ranji Suryuko villain, 120 rescue, 5 6th, Goro Kuraka villain, 20 rescue, 107th, Geto Karada villain, 99 rescue, 28th, Ika Araji villain, 58 rescue, 59 9th, Banku Rasha villain, 58 rescue, 57 10th, Melissa Shield villain, 79 rescue, 34 11th, Miku Cemento villain, 55 rescue, 55 12th, Emo Kogiki villain, 100 rescue, 5 13th, Uzumaki Kaze villain, 90 rescue, 10 14th, Hatsusuru Roke villain, 90 rescue, 9 15th, Sakura Appa villain, 90 rescue, 8 16th, Kutaro Hansha villain, 80 rescue, 15 17th, Bowen Hansha villain, 80 rescue, 15 18th, Fane Hansha villain, 80 rescue, 15 19th, Nagase Chalk villain, 90 rescue, 0 20th, Benja Sukabe villain, 85 rescue, 0 21st, Koji Fuku villain, 77 rescue, 6. The entirety of the leaderboards is filled with Quirkless students, with not a single Quirkist on the board. Cementos. Indeed, for the first time in 𝐻𝐻's history, the top leaderboards for the entrance exam are all Quirkless. Ectoplasm, and half of them beat All Might's record. Midnight, do you think the board will appreciate this? You know how some can be discriminatory towards the Quirkless. If they see this, it could cause quite a stir. 𝐒𝐻𝐻, and it will be even more of a stir if the Quirkless population finds out. They took the exam and passed it fair and square. If they knew about this information beforehand, it wouldn't matter. Heroes will always gather vital intel to ensure successful missions. What they did is an example of that. He knows that when this information gets out to the board of members at 𝐻𝐻, those who help fund the school and keep it running will be furious that not a single student with a quirk made it into the top. They will likely push to replace them with a student who has a quirk. Even if 𝐒𝐻𝐻 objects, the board members might threaten to withdraw their support, forcing 𝐒𝐻𝐻 to scramble for a suitable replacement to secure funding for the school. Perhaps he should look into the Quirkless families connected to Izuku. 𝐒𝐻𝐻 knows Izuku's family has influence around the globe. This could be a way to form alliances with him once Izuku enters 𝐻𝐻. Cementos. Even so, with what we've seen regarding the top 20, there's a chance one class will have quirks while the other is all quirkless. This won't bode well with the public once it gets out. 𝐒𝐻𝐻, you are correct there. He began thinking of ways to handle the backlash. 𝐒𝐻𝐻 knows the board won't be pleased about this, and the HPSC won't be happy either. An entire class full of quirkless students, with the number of heroes in the hero course of the most prestigious high school in Japan being significantly lower, will undoubtedly lead to intervention once word spreads. However, one of the staff members calls out to 𝐒𝐻𝐻. Aizawa, 𝐒𝐻𝐻. 𝐒𝐻𝐻 and the rest of the 𝐻𝐻 staff turn to the voice, revealing it to be Aizawa. Aizawa, I believe I have a plan to deal with this. 𝐒𝐻𝐻, is that so? Care to elaborate on your plan for this new batch of students? I'm all ears. He looks to Aizawa, who shares his plan. Little does Aizawa know that his actions may have unforeseen consequences. 1 week later, Ika, guys, it's here. It's here. Back in Island, the crew from the Quirkless Forum has made the city their home. During the last few months leading up to the 𝐻𝐻 entrance exam, with the approval of not only Sector 7 but also the people in the higher ranks of Island, many families have settled on the island. Thanks to the help of the Quirkless Forum, Izuku started a movement to bring in Quirkless families seeking a better life in Island, and his plan worked perfectly. The city has never felt busier or livelier. An example of this is right now, as Aika bursts through the doors of the lounge, where most of the group gathers when they visit Izuku and Melissa in the lab. Aika has a large package containing the results of their entrance exam. The moment everyone sees what Aika is holding, they know what it is. Sora, finally! I've been waiting all week for this. Everyone crowds around Aika, while Izuku sits in a chair facing the window, enjoying the amazing view of the city. He smiles, watching his friends surround the somewhat annoyed Aika. Aika, okay. Back off. We won't know the results if you don't give me some space. She exclaims as everyone steps back to give Aika room. Aika huffs before ripping the package open, expecting a pile of envelopes to fall out, but to their dismay, there is only one. However, they can see that the envelope is addressed to the first Quirkless students of U. Even though it says that, some are disappointed, expecting to receive their own envelopes. One of them who wasn't part of the exam said in a sarcastic manner, "Well, this was anticlimactic." He was excited to see the envelopes his friends would receive but found it to be a disappointment. The one who spoke was a handsome young man in his early 20s, with striking auburn hair slicked back, flawless skin, and a sharp, almost theatrical smile. His eyes glinted with vanity, and his movements were as polished as his appearance. His name was Soto Naku, and like the others, he now went by the name Knockout. "Yo, what is this? I thought we were going to get a bunch of envelopes." Ranto exclaimed. "Maybe if you would read what it says on the envelope, it is addressed to us, Ranto." "Aika, it's best you open it and see what's inside," said a young man named Kyofu Dordu, now known as Dreadwing. He had a chiseled face, dark skin, and a neatly trimmed beard. His deep, commanding voice matched his tall, broad-shouldered frame. "Gotcha, Dreadwing," Aika replied. Without hesitation, she ripped the envelope apart, prompting a comment from Ranji. "Here I thought you knew some proper manners, Aika." "Shut up, squidhead," Aika shot back. As she angrily yelled at Ranji, the contents of the envelope dropped out, a small circular device and a letter that caught Titan's attention. "If you want more answers, look at what that letter says," Tiden suggested. Kido, who was there to supervise the group, picked up the letter and read it aloud. "Dear students, you might think we would each give you an envelope for the exam, but we decided not to. Word of this will get out eventually, and I know well that the board members and the HPSC won't be too pleased with this. Despite that, I still run this school and can choose who can enter A's Hero course or any of its other departments. Hence why it's better off if I send all of you one envelope as to not let these scoundrels intercept it. And don't worry, I won't bring harm to any of you as I have made allies with the Midoriya family recently. If you wish to find out answers on whether you pass or not, just click on the button in the device inside the envelope. With regards, Principal Nizu of U." Everyone shouted in shock and surprise at what they had just heard. Some moved closer to confirm it themselves, and when they read it, they found it to be true. "I agree with the principal," Kyofu said. "The U. A board and sooner or later, the HPSC won't take too kindly to the Quirkless actually beating those with quirks in the entrance exam. They will stop at nothing to make sure all of you don't get the results." "You're worried about that. I'm more worried about the public's reception," Goro added. "It won't bode well, let me tell you," Kido remarked, glancing to his left to see Melissa approaching Izuku, holding the letter. "And it seems we'll get some unanswered questions," Kido noted. They all turned to where Melissa was, as Izuku finished his cup of tea. Melissa slammed the letter on the table, causing it to shake a bit. "Izuku, care to explain?" she asked. His response was a sigh. Nobody really thought that the Quirkless would make an alliance with those who had quirks. Mawata's situation was far different, and they could be trusted. This situation, however, was uncertain, especially considering Nizu's standing. "First off, my father told me Nizu is somewhat in contact with them. He said they're trying to garner an alliance with us to keep us on good terms. My mother said it's 50-50 on trusting Nizu. She wishes to see his actions first before allowing ourselves to trust him," Izuku explained. "That makes sense. But I wish to know why you didn't tell us about this," Melissa said. My father told me to hold off on this information until we get solid evidence that they are on our side or wish to stay neutral in case something bad happens in the long run, Izuku replied. They don't want to pick a side because it will lead to drastic consequences if they do, Kido added. Yes, but it's entirely different if Nizu's own people and you do their own thing. It's on them, not Nizu. Nizu's priority is keeping you standing. The Chimera knows of the growing rebellion rising up from the Quirkless. All we need is a simple push, Izuku concluded. He says as Izuku grabs a marble from one of the decorative plates on the table and pushes it towards a group of them he placed there. The marble hits the group, causing the rest to be pushed and fall off the table, but Izuku catches them with his hand. Izuku, to light the fires that were hidden inside of us. We know the Quirkists and most certainly the HPSC are afraid of this. Sakura Scrapper, so in short, we take this alliance with a grain of salt. Izuku, yes. If push comes to shove, you are to only listen to me since I'm the de facto leader of this group. Isn't that right, Natsu? Natsu Lugnut, of course, leader. We are your humble servants. Onslaught, oh brother. Mo pinches the bridge of his nose in annoyance. He's glad Natsu is older. He knows the other boys wouldn't want to deal with him if he were in you. Izuku, anyway, press the button on the device. Let's see who among us passed. Moata and the others are really interested to know. You mean your girlfriend wants to know if you passed? One of them makes a comment that annoys Izuku. The person who said that is a tall, wiry girl around the same age as Izuku but only a year older. She has pale skin, sharp cheekbones, and silver-dyed hair cut in an uneven bob. Her eyes carry a restless, calculating gleam, always scanning. Her name is Eisudensha, but she is known now as Astro Train. Izuku, she's not my girlfriend. SU Astro Train. Yeah, and I'm the Queen of England. Izuku rolls his eyes as he has Aika press the device. Aika complies and presses the circular button in the middle. Once she does, a video projection pops up from the device. Not surprising any of them since they've seen much more advanced technology in the facility. Izuku hasn't told them it's alien tech, and they are met with Nizu in the video as he waves at them. Nizu, we meet again, students. By now, you should have the envelope delivered to Island and have all gathered together after discussing with young Izuku Midoriya on how he knew of this beforehand. I do hope there wasn't any infighting here. Sakura Scrapper, he's toying with us. Melissa Shockwave, All Might said the principal can be terrifying. Plus, he's very smart from what I heard. So don't underestimate him. Sakura Scrapper, loud and clear. Nizu, now, getting back to our main topic here. By now, you have already read the contents regarding the letter I sent you and must understand why we sent only one envelope instead of who knows how many. But I believe it won't matter the minute we tell you who passed and who failed. Uzumaki Vortex, he's got a point. His comment is met with an elbow to the side by Hatsu. Nizu, and I'm here to say with confidence that all of you have passed the entrance exam. By all of you, I mean all 21 Quirkless students. This makes everyone silent as they process what Nizu said. Izuku sees this and knows the room will get louder once the video ends. Turning back to the projection, he listens to what Nizu has to say. Nizu, was quite surprised when a group of Quirkless students came to our school to take the entrance exam and passed with flying colors, even going as far as beating All Might's record. Usually, we don't say this to the passing students until the days leading up to the school start. But due to circumstances to allow the HPSC to get off our backs, we have decided to make an entire class of Quirkless students, that way no tensions occur with the other students that have quirks. Although, one of you will head to Class 1A with the other students with quirks, and that falls on Izuku Midoriya. Again, this is due to circumstances we had to abide by to keep you in our school. So with that said, congratulations, and I look forward to seeing you walk the halls of our school. The video ends, and it is met with silence for a moment until one of them shouts out. Sora Skywarp, we passed. The moment Sora screams, it causes a chain reaction that makes everyone in the room sink in on what was said and follow suit, all cheering that they passed, while others cheer for their friends who are now going to be in the hero course. Izuku raises his cup of tea in celebration for his friends but sees Melissa approaching him, sitting in the chair across from him and asking Izuku a question. Melissa shockwave. Did you know we were going to pass? Izuku, not much. But I had a feeling we did. Just didn't know about the whole me being transferred to class 1A and the first class to be all Quirkless. We'll talk about this later, Ma. Right now, we focus on celebrations. She nods and looks over to the group of people celebrating, with Kido calming everyone down, which was quite difficult, especially with Natsu screaming out. Natsulugnet, yes. We have never doubted our glorious leader. For this victory, we shall celebrate this moment in honor of Themo Onslaught. Oh, shut up. Time skip everyone. Congratulations. Party poppers were pulled, releasing confetti as they gathered in a large room where Izuku's family had prepared food and drinks for the group to celebrate their acceptance into you. The party was going splendidly, with chatter filling the room as everyone enjoyed their time together. The excited students shared the news with their families, who greeted them with smiles. Although Melissa advised against bragging about this on social media, not wanting any trouble to brew. Melissa was also happy she passed, and her father, David Shield, was the happiest man in the world, seeing his daughter's dream come true and that she could be a hero. There was discussion about telling All Might, but Melissa opted not to since she wanted to focus solely on her friends and her journey into becoming a hero once she entered class. All Might could wait. As for Izuku, he felt exhausted after talking to everyone, so he took a break on the balcony, sipping a glass of soda. Most of them were still underage, and he looked out at the city view, letting out a breath of relief that he had passed, thanks to all the people there. His thoughts were interrupted when he heard a voice from behind. Not joining the festivities. He turned around to see Maada, who smiled and waved at him. Izuku, if I did, I would have the boys and girls thanking me for allowing them to take this opportunity. I would be there all day without a single moment of rest. Maada, that is true. Given what I saw. She joined Izuku by the railings of the balcony, standing beside him. A faint blush appeared on her cheeks as she tried to hide it. Maada, you know what's coming the minute you step into the classroom. Izuku, oh I know. I had Melissa help me with the U.T. network, and you had a hand in it as well. Our best chance for a teacher, well for me, is either Aizawa or Vlad King. The Quirkless class would probably get a pro hero they can find. But either way, it will be difficult given our Quirkless status. Moata. He's going to expel you, Izuku. Izuku, I know. But with the information I have about him, how he uses rationality and logic, I will use my own logic to explain why he is wrong in expelling me. I'm taking the blunt of his decision so that others won't face the same harsh treatment as what you experienced. He looked at Moada as she nodded, but she felt something wasn't right. She knew how Aizawa worked and believed he had a plan, but she also thought it would make Izuku furious and everyone else too. Moada, careful. Izuku, of course. My kind has suffered a lot, Moada. We can take anything they throw at us. Moada wasn't sure about that. But Izuku had a question for her. Izuku, how does it feel not having your quirk anymore, Moada? It's weird, right? Moada, it kind of is. It feels like losing a part of yourself since we had our quirks for our entire lives. Some took it well, but others not so much. During the weeks prior to the entrance exam, some of the Quirkless were still unsure about Moada and her class's loyalty. This led to Jack and Simmons ending the argument by showing off a machine. A machine that Sector 7 had built decades ago and actually worked, even tested beforehand, showing it to the group via a video from the archives. It was a machine that could remove someone's quirk entirely, almost like it never existed in the first place. They did not use any human DNA or BLD to create such a machine, mainly relying on alien technology. Because that is a suitable option compared to the last one. Some were skeptical of this machine, but in the end, to show how loyal they are to Izuku and that they will help the Quirkless, Moata stepped forward to see if the machine works, volunteering herself as a test subject. Many of her classmates were worried that this would go wrong, but Moata reassured them she would be fine, showcasing her faith in Izuku from the beginning. The results worked splendidly. Moata no longer had her quirk and was in perfect health. Moata, but even if we lost our quirks to show our loyalty, Many of us saw the benefits related to this. Izuku, and that is 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐻. Most saw it as a way to get back at Aizawa. Even with our quirks, we still lost everything, and I'm certain he will see you all as unfit without your quirks. I can't even tell what goes on inside that man's head regarding what is useful out there in the field, with or without a quirk. She looked to Izuku, who said nothing but shrugged, encouraging 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐻 to continue. 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐻, but with what the guys are saying, they want to use their loss of quirks to tell Aizawa that despite having no potential with quirks, what more without them? I won't be surprised if Aizawa considers the Quirkless nothing more than liabilities. He even called many of us that when we were expelled, saying some quirks are just liabilities in the field. Now that we are quirkless, they want to show him that despite this challenge, we can rise above ourselves and become something better. Something greater. Something that man never saw in us. In my eyes, this is a way to gain your trust and loyalty. My quirk won't do much anymore with the whole mech stuff, knowing how powerful they are. But my reasons are to earn your trust. Izuku, and that you did. 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐻. Yeah. She clenched her fists and looked at Izuku, who was unaware of the growing color on her cheeks. 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐻. Izuku, do you know how thankful I am for everything you did for us? Izuku, I do. You love to tell me every chance you get, and I always say it's no big deal. You needed the help. Besides, I'm still debating whether or not to bring in people like you, people with quirks who lost everything into our fold. But then again, it could cause tension between us if they are discriminatory towards my people. 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐻, I know. But to tell you the truth, the reason I wanted to express my gratitude is because of what I'm feeling right now. She looked at Izuku as he raised his eyebrow, curious about where 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐻 was going with this. He gestured for her to continue. 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐻, this feeling in my heart. I don't usually feel this way, but when I'm near you, my heart beats faster than ever. I didn't know what it was at first, but when my friends told me what it means, I was hesitant. But as the days went by, the time I spent with you made me realize it. She took a deep breath, and Izuku watched as 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐻 prepared to make a confession. 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐻, Izuku Midoriya. But again, like the moment before Izuku left for Japan, 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐻 couldn't say the words. 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐻, I. Again, she struggled to express what she wanted to say. To make matters worse, Izuku was giving her a look of concern. She saw this and quickly reassured him before it became too awkward. 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐻, you know what? I still can't do it. What is wrong with me? Izuku, can't do what? He asked with a raised eyebrow as 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐻 responded with a hearty laugh. 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐻, you're so dense. Maybe this can give you a hint about how I really feel about you. Deciding to take a leap of faith, 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐻 boldly walked up to Izuku, took his cheeks in her hands, and pulled him close for a kiss. When she did so, Izuku's eyes widened in shock, but his emotions allowed the kiss to last longer than he expected. Izuku wrapped his arms around 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐻 as they stayed like this for a moment before separating. The two breathed heavily as 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐻 fixed herself and coughed to get Izuku's attention. 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐻 smiled at Izuku, her cheeks flushed. She turned and hurried away, feeling a mix of embarrassment and excitement, leaving Izuku alone with his thoughts. He stood frozen, processing what had just happened, and suddenly realized the significance of Mawata's actions. Izuku thought to himself, wait, a girl actually likes me and kissed me. How did I not notice this? He was so caught up in his own thoughts that he missed the obvious signs of interest from others. What do I do with this? He wondered. Later, the crew arrived in Japan, gazing at the impressive buildings of 𝐻𝐻𝐻. They wore their 𝐻𝐻𝐻 uniforms proudly, and with 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐻's approval, they had added the same sticker that Izuku had on their arms and chests, hoping no one would mind. Izuku said, indeed. Our true journey starts when we enter through those classroom doors. Goro asked, you heading to class 1? Izuku replied, no, I'd rather hang out with you guys before heading to my classroom. Besides, without me, it's going to end in chaos. He didn't mention his longing to avoid Bakugo in the classroom. Ranji looked at Izuku and asked, really? Do you think we'll cause a mess here? Izuku gave him a knowing look, prompting Ranji to concede, okay, I see your point. But, come on, let's go before we attract unwanted attention, Izuku urged, and they all agreed, following him inside. As they walked through the halls, Izuku felt an uneasy sensation, as if something was about to go wrong. When they reached their classroom, they noticed the tall windows and the door marked with a large 1Q. Sora commented, "How original," while Sakura added, "It's obvious why they named it such." Izuku shrugged it off. "Forget it. Let's head inside and settle down, waiting for our teacher to arrive." They nodded and entered the classroom, taking their seats and chatting. Since this wasn't Izuku's class, he sat at the teacher's desk, observing his friends. Melissa approached him. "Did you speak to Moata?" she asked. "I did. She briefed me on what to expect if Aizawa is our teacher. We need to be prepared for anything. I have a bad feeling about this," Izuku replied. Melissa nodded. "You and me both." As they watched their friends, Melissa voiced her concerns. "I suppose you're worried about the outcome at the end of the day, especially with what Moata told us. Yes. Even if we're quirkless, others in the class will face the same challenges. I've done some research on Aizawa and found out that he expels students he deems unworthy. His intentions might be good, but his methods seem harsh. If he tries to expel me or any of you, I'll call him out on it," Izuku explained. Melissa listened thoughtfully as Izuku glanced at his watch. "I need to get going. Class is about to start, and I don't want to be late on the first day." He hops off the teacher's desk and makes his way to the door, but the minute he opened it, Izuku was met with a sight he didn't expect. He came face to face with Aizawa. Izuku thought, "Oh no." It wasn't just Izuku, many of the other Quirkless students had pale faces, seeing who would be their homeroom teacher. Melissa frowned, knowing what the outcome would be. But a voice in her mind told her that something much bigger was going on, and it involved Izuku as well. They saw Aizawa staring at Izuku, followed by the rest of the class as he spoke. "If you're here to play around, then I suggest you get out. It took all of you 15 seconds to be quiet when you saw me. Time is limited." He turned to Izuku. "You shouldn't be here. You belong to Class 1A, not here." But before Izuku could explain himself, Aizawa cut him off. "Get changed into your P uniforms and head out to the field. Class is already there waiting for you. Move it," he said sternly and took his leave. Izuku glanced at Melissa to get the P uniforms in the duffel bag by the corner where Sakura left it. Moata said they needed to be fast, and the same was true for Izuku as he had his P uniform with him beforehand. Izuku thought, "Great. Just great. With him being the homeroom teacher for my friends, I know they're going to be in trouble. I need to think of something the minute that happens, or else I may lose my cool if he dares insult my friends." Time passed, and Izuku and his crew rushed out of the U building and onto the field, where they were met with Class 1A. The Quirkless students were a bit confused when they saw no teacher there, causing Izuku to narrow his eyes, feeling something wasn't right. As soon as the Quirkless students arrived, the crew heard whispers coming from the Quirkless students. Izuku didn't bother going to them and decided to stay in the middle, close to where Class 1A was. As for the whispers, Class 1A had heard rumors that there would be an entire class filled with Quirkless students was buzzing with speculation about a new addition to their class. They thought it might be Izuku, who was approaching them. The Quirkless students ignored the whispers as Izuku turned to them, noticing Bakugo glance his way before looking away. Izuku was surprised that Bakugo didn't scowl at him, but he shrugged it off. His thoughts were interrupted when Melissa raised her hand to ask Aizawa a question that everyone was curious about. "Excuse me, but are you also the teacher of Class 1A? Because I don't see any other homeroom teacher here besides you," Melissa asked. "Yes, I am," Aizawa replied. "I was tasked by the principal to teach both your classes. Don't bother asking any more questions. Let's get this started." Izuku narrowed his eyes at this. Aizawa continued, "Now, listen up. If you don't already know, we're here to take a quirk assessment test. Despite some of you lacking a quirk, I will still test your capabilities. For those with quirks, you weren't allowed to use your abilities back in middle school, but here, you can." He looked at Bakugo. "You were at the top in the practical exam, right?" The quirkless students reacted with surprise and shock. Thanks to Melissa and Moata, they had seen the scoreboard of the practical exam and discovered that Izuku had taken the number 1 spot, not Bakugo. They felt that Izuku was being biased towards those with quirks and ignoring the quirkless students. Even Bakugo was taken aback by this revelation. He had heard rumors that Izuku had scored the highest and was confused about Aizawa's statement. Bakugo started to say, but Aizawa cut him off. Stop talking and stop wasting time. Head on over to the circle and do a softball throw. You can use your quirk, but make sure to stay in the circle. Bakugo nodded and walked over to the circle. Everyone watched with anticipation as he took a deep breath, calming himself before getting into a throwing position. Once he was ready, he threw the ball with great force. A loud sound erupted as Bakugo launched the ball high into the air. Small clouds formed around the ball, which was now engulfed in flames as it soared. Everyone watched in awe as the ball fell from the sky and landed on the ground. Aizawa, know your own maximum first. That is the most rational way to form the foundations of a hero. He showed off his phone, which recorded the distance Bakugo threw the ball, 750. 2m. This got a reaction from many of the Class 1A students, while the Quirkless students stayed silent. They had been advised on what not to say during this situation if Aizawa were to be their homeroom teacher. However, one of the Class 1A students exclaimed that this would be fun, which garnered a reaction from Aizawa, indicating that trouble was brewing. Aizawa, it looks fun. You have 3 years to become a hero. Will you have an attitude like that the whole time? If so, I'm going to make a competition here. Whoever comes in last place among you 41 students in these 8 tests will be judged to see if you have any potential. If you are below the 20th mark, you are expelled. So do your best or else. He eyed the quirkless students, especially Izuku, making it clear he meant what he said. This worried the quirkless students, with some sensing Aizawa's bias. For the 3rd time, Moada and her classmates provided information regarding the quirk apprehension tests, explaining the exercises and how they worked. Izuku and Melissa concluded that this type of testing favored certain quirks, meaning the quirkless students would need to outperform those whose quirks were less useful. Izuku knew Aizawa was looking for a reason to expel them, and he planned to have a word with him afterward. He had some information he wanted to share when this was over. Meanwhile, All Might was watching the class from afar, concerned about how Melissa would fare on her first day at U. He had heard about Aizawa's expelling rates and hoped she would do well. As the quirk apprehension test began, the first event was the 50-meter dash. Most of the quirkless students performed well, having practiced during their 10 months of training, though they were outpaced by a few Class 1A students. The grip strength test yielded similar results, with everyone scoring nearly equal. For the standing long jump, most participants cleared the distance, including the quirkless students. The repeated side steps, sit-ups, seated toe touch, and distance run also showed that the quirkless students were quite fit despite their lack of quirks. When it came to the ball throw, Izuku noted that even though Aizawa allowed the use of quirks, some students couldn't use theirs effectively in this situation. Many of the exercises seemed designed for those who were quirkless, as they were fit and capable. Even the ball throw proved challenging for some, as their quirks didn't aid them in this instance. Izuku observed that Aizawa seemed to be trying to prove a point. Once the quirk apprehension test concluded, everyone gathered around Aizawa as he prepared to show the results. However, he chose not to. Aizawa, I'm not going to bother showing the results because I've seen enough. He pointed to the quirkless students, including Izuku, glaring at them. Aizawa, the entirety of Class 1Q and Izuku Midoriya are expelled. Pack your things and get out of this school. His announcement was met with shocked expressions from Class 1A, and All Might's jaw dropped at the news of Melissa's expulsion. Bakugo remained silent, turning to Izuku, who, along with the other quirkless students, displayed expressions of anger rather than sadness. Their glares were intense, and Izuku stepped forward to confront Aizawa. Izuku, is that so? Care to give us a real reason why you're expelling us? Aizawa, because you're quirkless. You will only get yourselves into trouble. You were lucky to pass the entrance exam. But out there in the field, you won't have the means to survive. Izuku, really? Did you not see what we did in the entrance exam? The kind of technology and tools we had. Not to mention that I and every one of my friends here, except for those with quirks, all got top scores on the entrance exam, yet you claim 𝐒𝐲𝐸 is the one who got the top score. It seems biased to me. Blue-haired boy, wait, Melissa Shockwave, stay out of this, she says with a glare as the blue-haired boy steps back. Aizawa, your technology won't get you anywhere. It is merely a crutch. Without it, you are nothing. Izuku, the same can be said for quirks. Without them, you are all nothing, just like us. I mean, look at you. I know who you are, the one with the ability to erase others' quirks. I'm pretty sure your ability isn't related to any physical means, so in a way, you're like us. Aizawa, yet I still have the means to erase other quirks. Izuku, while those you can't erase will pose a problem for you, I don't think your support item will do much compared to our technology. But enough of that, what I'm here to say is how unfair your tests really are. He yells out, while All Might wonders if he should intervene or if this will escalate further. Aizawa, that's a bold accusation. What evidence do you have? If you don't, then you are just letting your anger do the talking. This made Izuku scoff. He has all the evidence he needs. Izuku, I believe anyone with common sense can see that despite you allowing them to use their quirks freely in this test, half of them can't use their quirks because they aren't suitable for these types of situations. They are essentially doing this without their quirks. And not to mention that Melissa here was able to access your phone to see the real results. Aizawa, that's a serious offense. Don't tempt me. Melissa Shockwave, Izuku and I don't care. I found it really interesting when I saw the results on your phone. After all, the robots compiled all our records in the tests, and what I saw is quite different from what you claimed. She says as Melissa brings out her phone, pressing a button to showcase the results of the quirk apprehension test. Everyone there can see the results, showing that the quirkless students were able to outperform students in Class 1A. This leads to looks of anger from the quirkless students toward Aizawa, some knowing that if Aizawa had shown this, he would tamper with the results and find a way to expel them. Melissa Shockwave, as you can see, Aizawa refused to show us the real results of the test. Simply because he didn't want you quirk users to feel overshadowed by those he considers weak. She then glares at Aizawa and continues speaking. Melissa Shockwave, I'm not wrong, am I? I can see it in your face. You don't want us to surpass you, right? Because you saw what our suits can do and what potential they have. You're afraid that our machines will be able to surpass your quirks. Isn't that right, Izuku? Izuku, yes. It's clear as day, and I have seen it far too many times. But let me tell you this, Aizawa. Not only are you biased against us quirkless students, wanting us out and calling us liabilities, but you also lied to us. You lied to everyone here. And I have the evidence to prove it. He says, showcasing his phone, pressing a button as a projection of a letter appears, highlighting a specific part of the holographic paper that shows who the homeroom teacher of Class 1Q is. Izuku, you lied about being our homeroom teacher. It was supposed to be midnight for Class 1Q, not you. You did this as an excuse to expel us because we were quirkless. You would have done the same to me even if I surpassed some of your students. Izuku stood firmly, refusing to associate himself with Class 1A. He felt a deep disconnect from them. I know you would have altered the results to get me expelled because I'm quirkless, Izuku stated, his voice filled with determination. You see me as a liability. This test was just an excuse to eliminate those you don't believe in. Moada is right, you're not fit to be a teacher. Aizawa raised an eyebrow, surprised by Izuku's words, especially the mention of Moada. He wondered how Izuku knew her. You use your so-called rationality to expel students on a whim, claiming they will get themselves hurt, but you're mistaken. You're not protecting them, you're leading them to failure. Take Moada, for example. She shared with me the consequences of your decisions. The mark you gave them has ruined their lives. Some were ostracized by their families, barred from attending hero school, and others felt they had no choice but to turn to a darker path. Some even lost hope entirely. And it's all because of you. You might think you're doing this for the greater good, but you're not saving anyone. We all know what challenges await us in this field. We came here to learn about our powers, something you seem to neglect. You should be guiding us, not pushing us away. Izuku's words hung in the air, and he couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction in confronting Aizawa. Melissa noticed Aizawa's expression darkening as Izuku continued. I've researched you, Aizawa. You had good intentions once, but it spiraled out of control. Just because someone faced tragedy doesn't mean you should take away opportunities from others. You should be teaching us how to navigate these challenges, not burying your past. Your actions have led to many lost chances and broken dreams. You're not a hero, you're someone who has lost sight of what it means to help others. A tense silence followed, and the atmosphere grew heavy. Even All Might felt the weight of the moment, concerned about Aizawa's reaction. He discreetly checked for cameras, preparing to intervene if necessary. Aizawa finally broke the silence with a sardonic laugh. Yes, everything you said is true. I did manipulate things to bring you all here, and I would have expelled any Quirkless students. Gasps echoed from Class 1A, and the Quirkless students glared at Aizawa, their fists clenched in anger. You Quirkless students are seen as liabilities, Aizawa continued. You have no place in this society or in becoming heroes. What I do is for your own safety. It's rational to discourage dreams that lack potential. Once you leave this school, your choices are your own. If you make foolish decisions, that's on you. If Moada chose a darker path, that was her decision, not mine. She should have been more aware of the risks when she entered you. I was simply trying to protect the school from weakness. Izuku stood resolute, determined to stand up for what he believed in, ready to face whatever came next. The mention of Moada and the fact Aizawa insulted her made Izuku absolutely furious. Izuku, All Might, that's enough, young Midoriya. You said what needed to be said. A hand was placed on Izuku's shoulder as everyone was surprised to see All Might here. Aizawa, All Might, what are you doing here? All Might, I was in orientation but saw Class 1A and 1Q weren't present, so I went looking and found them here. And yes, Aizawa, I saw everything, and I do have concerns regarding what young Midoriya said towards you. Melissa Shockwave. Why do I feel like he's doing this to gain some form of trust towards Izuku? Aizawa, why bother listening to him? There's no point, and you can't change my mind. All Might, Midnight's in charge of Class 1Q, it's her class, not yours. I'm certain you know that Nizu is allied with the Midoriyas. I'm sure a case will be filed against you, especially if it's under one 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐦𝐚𝐫𝐲 Midoriya. Some of those in Class 1A, mainly a black-haired girl with a ponytail, were surprised to hear that Izuku is related to 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐽𝐻 Midoriya, one of the most well-known lawyers around the globe, as well as a businesswoman in some cases. As for Bakugo, he knew what would happen if 𝐒𝐮𝐽𝐻 sued you, or even Aizawa for this situation. By the end of this, 𝐒𝐮𝐽𝐻 would certainly have a serious conversation with Aizawa. Aizawa, let them try, I'm not afraid of them. I don't care if Nizu has ties to the Midoriyas. What I say goes. Ask Namuri, she called in sick and allowed me to take charge of her class. It's my decision and that's final. There is nothing you or Nizu can do to stop me. I'm doing what's best for them. Before All Might could respond to Aizawa, Izuku raised his hand towards him, stopping All Might from speaking. Izuku, there's no point in arguing, All Might. This man deludes himself into thinking he's right. He said this as Aizawa glared at Izuku but then looked to All Might with a smile. Izuku, but thanks for trying to stand up for us. Maybe you did it for Mel, it's a start, but it won't change going forward. All Might did not know what Izuku meant by that and had a feeling it would lead to something far worse than he could ever imagine. Izuku, if you wish to expel us Quirkless because you see us as nothing more than liabilities despite proving ourselves back in the exam, then we'll be on our way. We don't need you, and we certainly don't need you. We'll make our own path to becoming heroes, whether you like it or not. And if you dare stop us or try any means to prevent us from reaching our goal, even getting help from the pro heroes or the HPSC, just because you don't want my kind to surpass you, then be my guest. By the end of it, you will fear us and be afraid of what we'll become if you push us further. I won't show mercy. His statement was met with Aizawa scoffing, thinking about what a Quirkless student could do against him. Aizawa, I'm not afraid of you. I'm not going to be afraid of some Quirkless brat. Izuku, you will. He said with a smirk, as Aizawa didn't know what was coming. Izuku turned around, looking at his Quirkless friends, ignoring the stares from Class 1A, and gave them a nod. From there, Izuku shouted out in the field. Izuku, Astro Train, transform and get us out of here. As Izuku shouted, one of his crew appeared out of nowhere and landed beside the Quirkless students, surprising everyone there except the Quirkless. Aizawa narrowed his eyes at this. He wondered why U.S. security system didn't detect this newcomer. The figure in front of him was none other than Izuku Astro Train, her Cybertronian mech described as standing tall and imposing with broad, block-shaped armor, a gray and purple color scheme, a stern face, and shuttle wings folded onto its back, giving it the appearance of a heavily armored soldier. The students were surprised to see the Cybertronian mech. Only a few had witnessed its power back in the entrance exam. The Quirkless students ignored the stares and whispers from Class 1A as ASU transformed into her vehicle mode, resembling a bulky space shuttle with squared edges, a dark gray and purple hull, and small red details along the sides. The Quirkless students wasted no time and headed inside the shuttle. They could hear a few of them, mainly the girl with black hair in a ponytail, talking to herself about the shuttle, marveling at how it had grown immensely in size and how such a thing was possible. Melissa let out a laugh, deciding not to share any information with the girl, knowing who she was. As Melissa entered the shuttle, she took one last glance at All Might, noticing a frown on his face when their eyes met. Izuku was the last to arrive but chose not to enter the shuttle. He looked at All Might and then turned to Bakugo. The two exchanged silent glances. Izuku then spoke to Aizawa. I'll be seeing you all soon, and next time, I won't be so kind, especially to you, Eraser. He raised his arm and activated a device on his chest armor, transforming into his Cybertronian mech. The transformation formed a helicopter mode that was angular and futuristic, featuring sharp black and gray armor panels with crimson highlights, twin rotor blades on top, and a blocky, weapon-like nose that gave it a striking military appearance. The twin rotor blades began to spin, and everyone shielded themselves from the dust that flew around. Izuku ascended, joining ASU, who was hovering in the air. The two took off in a heartbeat, disappearing from sight and leaving the group behind. Silence fell as everyone processed what had just happened, but All Might turned to Aizawa, looming over him with an unhappy expression. He was clearly displeased with Aizawa's actions. Aizawa, you and I are going to have a talk with Nizu, he said in an irritated tone. Aizawa rolled his eyes in response, feeling that this conversation was unnecessary since he believed he had done the right thing. Nevertheless, he resolved to get through it and return to his rest. Back in I-Island, Jack, Izuku, and Simmons were discussing the aftermath of their first day. They were in 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐸𝐸's office, located in another facility in the city. 𝐒𝐮𝐸 herself sat at her desk, looking less than pleased. She had long dark green hair tied in a ponytail and light green eyes, and she wore a business suit consisting of a white dress shirt, black tie, blazer, and slacks. Is that what happened? Jack asked. Yes, Izuku replied. Melissa has the footage if you want to see it again, but I'm not repeating myself. 𝐒𝐮𝐸 sighed. Trust me, Izuku. We all are upset about this. Nizu spoke to me about it, and he's working to fix this mess. But knowing you, I assume you're not interested in returning to you, right? No, Izuku said firmly. I don't plan to, and neither do the others. If Aizawa wants us out, that's how it will stay. We'll be heroes in our own way, regardless of the law. Jack and Simmons exchanged knowing looks, aware that this outcome was likely. Then everyone here in the Quirkless city of I-Island will support whatever you plan to do. All our resources are at your disposal, depending on what you need. But I must warn you, son, there will be repercussions, and they could be challenging for our people. I understand, and I'm ready to face them, Izuku replied confidently. That's the spirit. And don't worry, Izuku. If the HPSC tries anything against you and your friends, they will have to go through me, 𝐒𝐮𝐸 said with a fierce determination that sent a chill down the spines of Jack and Simmons. They could almost swear her eyes glowed light green for a moment, but when they looked again, the glow was gone. Simmons, I can't really tell if her glowing eyes are her quirk or if she's just that intimidating when she releases that aura of hers. Jack, intimidating. He sees Simmons nod before turning his attention to Izuku. Simmons, by the way, Izuku. More of your followers from the Quirkless forum and those around Japan are making this place their home. You know, your father's right when he said you're building an army. Are you sure you want to go through with this? Like we said, there will be consequences. Izuku and I will accept them when they come. If Japan and its hero system won't allow us to be heroes, then let's be heroes on our own terms. At this point, we are revolutionaries aiming for justice for the Quirkless, and we will not back down from hero society's prejudice. I believe we are in agreement on that. Inko, we are Izuku. Now go off to your friends. I believe you need to use this time to cool off after what happened back at you. I will update you, or these two will, regarding the progress of your projects. Izuku nods, but as he makes his way to the door, Inko has one last thing to tell her son. Inko, oh, and by the way, Izuku, I was able to use my connections and have someone useful included in your ranks. We had their quirk removed, and they accepted it since they can no longer be considered an asset to their organization. But I can tell you this, with what's coming, she will prove to be a vital asset in fighting the HPSC. Izuku, I understand, mother. I'll take note of that and inform the others. He has no idea who this person is or what their relationship is with the HPSC, but if it will give them an advantage against them, he will take it. Izuku just has to meet whoever she is. As Izuku makes his way out of the door, Inko watches her son leave, a smirk on her face, already knowing the events that will follow, depending on how each of them plays out. Inko, things are going to be interesting, that's for sure. Time skip slam. A small dent is seen on Izuku's desk as he is now back in his room. Him hitting the desk was to display how much frustration he felt towards the events that transpired in you. Moada is also present in the room with Izuku. Moada, Izuku. Izuku, sorry. A lot has happened, and I didn't really have the proper means to release all my frustration. It was hectic to say the least. Moada, do you wish to talk about it? Vent it all out. She says as Moada gets close to Izuku, but he can only look away, the noticeable frustration building up on his face. Moada, Izuku, I wanted to give this a shot. I thought if we showed we had potential, that we could do better, it might change their minds. To see that we aren't useless or worthless. In the end, it was a naive way of thinking, and I should have faced the truth. No matter how much we try, no matter how hard we push ourselves, these quirkists, just like Aizawa, have made things difficult for us. They don't want our kind to surpass them. It's frustrating. Moada, Izuku, I know it's been rough. But you know Melissa has a plan for this. I spoke to the others. We can use this evidence to expose Aizawa. Even if he tampered with the results to get you expelled, what he did isn't hero-like, and I'm certain even if it was someone with a quirk, it would cause a scandal. One that you, and even Aizawa wouldn't want to deal with. We have statements from my class and the others. We can do this, Izuku. Izuku, and you think that can work, Moada? He says in a tone that gives Moada a look of uncertainty. Moada, can. It's worth a shot if you think about it. I mean, come on, don't you want to expose him for what he is? But out of nowhere, Moada is met with Izuku turning around, facing her with intense emotion. Izuku, and oh, I don't want to expose him anymore. I want to make a change. At that moment, Izuku's frustration, which has been building up inside him, is released, his voice echoing in the room, and Moada steps back, surprised. Izuku, not only do I want to expose Hero Society and seek justice for what they did to us, but I also want Aizawa to face the consequences of his actions. I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt, but what I saw changed everything. He hurt my friends, ruining their dreams under the guise of keeping them safe, when in reality he just wanted to eliminate those he deemed unworthy. He even insulted you and showed no concern for your well-being, and that made me furious. I'm determined to dismantle everything he stands for and ensure that his legacy is one of failure. I want him to realize that he has let everyone down. He finishes his rant, and Moada, no longer afraid of Izuku, approaches him for a hug, calming him down. They remain in this position until Moada senses that Izuku has calmed down, and then they return to their conversation. Moada, I understand your anger, but we need to take this slow. We have an army, and we can't rush into this without a plan. Izuku, I'm not reckless, 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐿. We have a strong following on our side. Our only challenge is figuring out how to proceed. This is a big task, and one mistake could jeopardize everything. 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐿, I know that. But don't let your anger dictate your choices. Be smart about this. You have people who believe in you. Trust them, and they'll help you reach your goal. It won't be easy, but I know you're up for the challenge. Izuku, you know me best, 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐿. They share a laugh, but it quickly turns into an awkward silence. Izuku rubs the back of his head, recalling a small incident between him and 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐿. Maybe he can take this opportunity to get to know her better and distract himself from the events at you. Izuku, hey, do you want to go out to the park? Maybe have dinner together. Mel mentioned there's a food festival today, and it could be a nice distraction from everything that's happened. As he says this, 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐿 realizes what Izuku is suggesting. She studies the signs and believes this is one of them. 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐿, are you asking me out? On a date? Izuku, yes. 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐿, sure. She quickly stands up and rushes to the door, opening it excitedly and gesturing for Izuku to go ahead. It's clear she's a bit nervous. 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐿, shall we? Izuku nods, and they both rush out the door, eager to use this time to forget about the events at you. Meanwhile, Nizu, you misled me, Aizawa? Nizu is in his office, looking quite serious. He's furious but is trying to maintain his composure in front of Aizawa. Nizu has reviewed All Might's account of what happened and examined the footage for evidence to confront Aizawa. Aizawa, I don't know what you're accusing me of, Nizu. I did nothing wrong. Nizu, I'm accusing you of an unjust expulsion. The evidence suggests you tampered with the results and were about to use them as an excuse to expel students. I also noticed that Midnight was absent from her class. To think you would go so far as to make her unwell just to take over her class and justify expelling students who weren't even under your jurisdiction is unacceptable. Even if you tried to expel Midoriya, he would still outperform most of your class, which is unfair. Aizawa, life is unfair. I did what was necessary. Nizu, what you did is made an enemy out of them. This was met with a scoff from Aizawa. Aizawa, I didn't make an enemy out of anyone. The Quirkless can't possibly amass an army. It will end in failure. Why are you so afraid of those who have no powers? Nizu, because if you push people too hard, they will have enough and rise above themselves to stand against this injustice, no matter the cost or how many obstacles they face. Aizawa, don't give me that, Nizu. They can do nothing against us. I did you a favor. If I didn't expel those Quirkless, it would cause more problems with the HPSC, which I know you don't want to deal with. This way they will be off our backs. I'm certain you can understand that. Nizu tried to hide a frown at the mention of the HPSC. Those in suits are always causing problems for him and everyone else. Nizu is worried about the aftermath, especially since he has a small idea of what the Quirkless in 𝐼 are capable of when pushed. But he also knows the HPSC will ignore it and see it as a nuisance rather than a threat. Aizawa, don't bother with this. There is nothing important to discuss since you have nothing to say. I assure you, Nizu, these liabilities won't cause us any problems. I have expelled students before. They know not to make an enemy out of us. They have no power here and can't do anything against me because I have the backing of the HPSC, and I know you don't want to deal with them. He said nothing more, taking his leave from the office as Nizu watched him slam the door. A sigh escaped Nizu. He was concerned about the outcome that would follow in the coming days. He needed to make calls to ensure you, and its students still stood strong, as he did not want to bring them into whatever was coming. He foresaw it would bring nothing but challenges. Nizu, sooner or later, this will come back to haunt you, Aizawa, in a way you can't imagine. And there will be nothing we can do if you ask for mercy or help, because no one will be there to save you.